I had my suspicions for quite a while now, and I really feel like episode 7 of Apothecary Diaries was like the writer tipping their hand a bit too much, putting way too much emphasis on Jinshi. I have for a while now have been suspecting that Jinshi is something special. I mean, our early indication is the idea that Jinshi is somebody that the Emperor trusts a lot. My mom made some joke about the idea that maybe Jinshi is, the Emperor's favorite, doing certain things with him and everything. He's super pretty and all that kind of stuff. And then you have this aspect that, yes, Jinshi was kind of entrusted with this very important job of managing this rear palace. He's a very important person. He's obviously doing a lot of work, and a lot of the responsibilities placed upon Jinshi is stuff that's significant. It's very significant stuff. He's handling a lot of things. I mean, one of the things that was a little bit off for me early on was this idea that Jinshi was entrusted with investigating this thing that happened with the military. This manager of the rear palace is handling something for the military. So I had my suspicion there. I had something there. And yes, technically having the Emperor come back there and get involved with things, you can say is because of the concubines themselves, but I think a lot of that had to do with Jinshi. And then last episode, something suspicious happened. The idea that Jinshi was gone from the party, left at some point, and then you had some of the lady in waiting that were talking about how, oh yeah, this is the mother of the Emperor, and yeah, apparently the Emperor has a younger brother, and that younger brother is always sick, and always secluded to their home. And they were here a little while ago, but they left. Who was gone? Again, Jinshi. So, again, that kind of led me to a little bit of suspicion there. But this episode feels like it is tipped the hand. We had way too much very odd conversation between Jinshi and Goshin. There was an emphasis in this little scene that we had that Jinshi had a hairpin that was special. And additionally, it was in your hair, so nobody's seen it. Nobody's seen your true status. Which, yes, leads me to believe that I think Jinshi is probably the younger brother of the Emperor. Now, that just kind of, with that in mind, with that theory in mind, my mind goes down this rabbit hole of, like, super unfortunate and kind of twisted, messed up storyline for Jinshi. And the idea that Jinshi is supposed to be a eunuch. Now, there's a possibility that Jinshi hasn't had that part removed, because the only men that were allowed to be back there have to be eunuchs. But if it's the younger brother of the Emperor himself, he might have special privilege in that regard. He's able to go back there, test all the women back there, see if he can seduce them, and if he can, they kick him out or whatever. But then there's that other side of me that goes down this twisted rabbit hole of, like, what if the older brother, the Emperor, not wanting any chance that a younger brother would take the throne from him, has Jinshi that part chopped off? Because he doesn't want him to take over the throne, because then he won't be able to, essentially create heirs to the throne. But no, I think I probably more lean to the first round. I mean, it can go super dark with that whole thing, but I think it's in that idea that, yes, they kept Jinshi kind of secluded so that he can kind of work in the shadows for the Emperor. That's kind of the direction I'm going, and I don't think that he probably had him do that. I'm probably thinking that probably Jinshi is not a eunuch, and they just say that he is. That way, nobody suspects him and questions why he would have the power to do that if he wasn't. But yeah, like I said, I think that whole conversation between Jinshi and Goshin has pretty much revealed that to me. The fact that this hairpin is so special that they wanted to not reveal his true status and all that kind of stuff, that's definitely the case. Now, as to why nobody would know that that's Jinshi, because he's walking around the rear palace all the time, and with the ladies in waiting saying that, yes, he was just here and he left, they've seen Jinshi. They would say that's Jinshi. Maybe he was disguised when he came by last time. That could be as well. Maybe he wore something different or whatever. But additionally, I think the writer is tipping their hand a bit too much on Mao Mao as well. This homecoming sequence, having this little brief statement made by her father, just spells out too much. The rear palace, what a twist of fate. So obviously Mao Mao's connected to them as well. So we're tipping that hand as well. Is possibly her father tied in with the palace itself? Maybe her mother is a concubine or a princess or whatever, somebody that had to flee the palace or whatever. It's already kind of opening up a bunch of doors for Mao Mao as a character to possibly be some sort of royalty. So we'll see there as well. Seems like a little bit too convenient, but we'll see where that goes. Anyhow, with all that jumping ahead out of the way, let's get into the episode proper, having this open sequence where Mao Mao is, yes, forced to have to get some rest by the other lady in waiting. I still, to this day, I love every single episode, partly because I love how much these girls adore Mao Mao. Despite the fact that she's done this all the time, they're just like, go to bed, get some rest. She's like, wow, I finally got to get some rest for once, but I don't want to rest anymore. But it was interesting that when she finally wakes up, she indicates the idea that, yes, technically the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows that she doesn't have freckles anymore, but she still wears them. And she says that it's because she's uncomfortable without them. Like, she's worn them for so long that she's just not comfortable without them. It didn't seem like she indicated otherwise in her head or anything. It's something that she told Gyokyo, and she doesn't say anything otherwise. So it does kind of indicate the idea that she just can't wear without them. She can't go without them. It's like a part of her now. Now, yes, you could still say that there's a part of it that, yes, she wants to keep them on because she doesn't still want to draw attention. But yeah, she's kind of been, so to speak, marked by a lot of people. It's not like somebody's going to snatch her away anytime soon, but it still could be a case. But yeah, Goshun shows up. He has the remaining soup. He puts it out there. And she's all excited. He's like, please don't drink it. She's like, I'm not going to drink it. I like this idea that she says, no, I'm not going to drink it. But there's a reason, because it's just not going to be potent anymore. There's no point in drinking it at this point. The potency's gone. So that's why she's not going to drink it. It's not that she doesn't want to drink it if it had poison in it that was still potent. It's just that it's not going to give her that same tingle, so she doesn't care anymore. And that's where we have Mao Mao uses her skills once again that she's learned in her previous life, that they can dust for fingerprints, at which point that she discovers there's been 4 total people that has touched the bowl. Now, she can make the assumption that, yes, based on how it's held, the person that poured the soup, the person that carried it, and yes, technically, Li Shu's waiting, the taste tester. Now, it's interesting in this point, they sort of take a sidestep where they start to talk about the taste tester. Why would she do that? And this is when Mao Mao has to kind of clarify, this is conjecture. I like that she does that. She did the same thing when it came with Gyokyo talking about, I think it was Fuyo, the girl that left the palace to be wed off to her childhood friend. I like how whenever Mao Mao knows that she doesn't have any sort of evidence, she makes that perfectly clear. In a lot of cases, what Mao Mao's doing is, yes, she's applying her knowledge. She's applying science in a way. She's basically making an educated guess. And she's making that very clear to Goshun. And the idea that, yes, this is what I'm suspecting. Based on all these little bits, this is what I think happened, but I don't have evidence that that in itself is what happened. That, yes, she's sort of figured it out by now that it doesn't seem like the lady-in-waitings are handling Li Shu properly. They're bullying her. Which, yes, technically makes sense as all the things that happened in the previous episode all add up. They sent her out there with a pink dress, knowing full well that it was going to clash with Gyokyun's outfit. They should have seen that and notified her, no, let's do a different dress. Additionally, they were all wearing white. They weren't even matching Li Shu. They're doing all these things in conflict to what lady-in-waitings usually do. The lady-in-waitings are trying to make sure that their concubine, the lady that they are serving, they are presented in a way that makes them shine. They're going to put you out there, and we're going to make sure that you look beautiful. But they're doing all the reverse. And yes, she's applying that to the taster as well, that she purposely kind of got that over to Gyokyun so that she can get the fish to give to Li Shu, because she knew that it was going to make Li Shu look bad. It was all for the sake of making Li Shu look bad. They were bullying her. Again, there's no proof to that, but it is something that she's easily coming to a conclusion with based on all the surrounding evidence. Now, the interesting thing that came from this conversation specifically is I like when Goshun asks, okay, now why are you defending her? Why did you go out of your way back here to defend her? You could have easily called her out. And while, yes, what she tells Goshun is what you would kind of assume, in the idea that I don't think Mama wants that blood on her hands. If she were to call her out, if she didn't defend her, that girl would have been dead. Mama pointed out, she is becoming essentially the judge. She is the one that's bringing forth the evidence that could get that girl killed. So of course she doesn't want that blood on her hands. Lady-in-waitings, especially tasters, their lives mean nothing compared to the concubine. But yes, the joke comes after that is that this girl was the reason why I got to taste that soup. And so I didn't want her to get in trouble. It's stupid. But at the same time, I can see both sides. I can see there being an idea that, yes, she didn't want this girl killed because of her. But yeah, there is the other side that, yes, Mama is that thirsty for poison soup. And so way to pay her back, help her out because she helped you out. Mama's a dork. Mama is a dork. But no, this investigation all leads to that, yes, somebody held it by the lip of it, and that's typically not allowed because the hands shouldn't be touching the area that the noble would put their lips to. But yeah, following this, we have the scene of Goshun and Jinshi, like I said earlier. Part of this whole thing was to kind of show how Goshun has basically been serving Jinshi for a long time. He knows everything about Jinshi. Jinshi allows himself to be comfortable around Goshun. He's relaxed. He's tired because he's been working this whole time about this whole thing. But additionally, yes, pointing out the fact that he still has his hairpin in his hair It looks very fancy. And that, yes, it's a good thing that it was in your hair because it hid what your true status was. Which, again, I'm suspecting is probably the Emperor's little brother. It could be something else. It could be maybe the hairpin is a signification that the Emperor gave him a hairpin and is special to him. But I think it's probably going to be that he is the younger brother. Now, this was so funny. I love this scene. I like Zaolan. I think she's super cute. Yes, she has the voice of Tama / Fapta. Her seiyuu is fantastic. She is an amazing seiyuu. So yeah, I do like her but for that. But yeah, at the same time, she's always kind of just the gossip girl. There's like, I really don't feel like she adds anything to the story so far, besides just being every now and then Mao Mao goes to eat with her and she talks about the latest gossip. But man, I love this scene with her because for once, finally, somebody says something about the hairpins that Mao Mao suddenly wants to know the details. We had like Yingha and everybody was all trying to tell Mao Mao what the significance of the hairpin is. And finally, Zolan's like, oh, now you can go out of the palace. And then suddenly Mao Mao wants to know everything about it. Tell me all the details suddenly. That was super funny. Really, really great. But yes, we're finding out that, yes, these hairpins pretty much means that you can leave the palace. Normally, men can't come in there and meet the lady-in-waitings, but they come during that party. And yes, they can give them these hairpins, which allows them to either request that person or somebody else to leave the palace. Now, that obviously indicates that one of the theories around the hairpin is that it is sort of a way of claiming somebody. That you could use these hairpins, put them in one of these lady-in-waiting's hair, and essentially claim them as sort of like your girl. Like, that's what I figured that Jinshi did it for. I'm claiming this girl as my girl. Li Hua was using it as a way of saying, you know, if you ever want to leave Gyokyo, come to me. Like, again, you're my girl. I'll take you into my group as one of my lady-in-waitings. So it's a way of recruiting people for work, but it's also seemingly a way for men to sort of court these women. It seems like Lee Haku, specifically the military guy, it seemed like he was doing it as sort of a gesture, like a consolation prize, essentially. That's what Mao Mao even seen it as. He kind of said that as well. Jinshi, again, I think it is a way of wanting to claim her. And again, I think Li Hua is sort of a way of both. I think the idea that she really does love Mao Mao, not like physically, but loves her a lot and wants to bring her under her wing. If you ever lose your job with Gyokyo, come here. But yeah, as Mao Mao was thinking about this, and yes, specifically saying that it is men, when men give you this hairpin, you can leave the palace, she thinks of the two men that gave her it, which is Jinshi and Lee Haku. Now, I think she takes that whole men thing a little bit too literally in the idea of specifically the unit down there. So thinking that Jinshi, once again, which I don't think is the case anymore, that Jinshi is a eunuch, it's got to be Lee Haku. I'm gonna have to go to Lee Haku. Which this scene kind of went in a direction I really wasn't seeing it going. Again, what I kind of assumed is that, yes, what this is that, yeah, if it is from a male and they want to court the women, then yes, it's a way for them to go out on a date. And I think that's the indication that Yinghua and all the other lady-in-waitings get. Like, oh, you were the first one to go out. We didn't think that was going to be the case. Congratulations. They're assuming that she's going to go on a date with Lee Haku. That Lee Haku's going to take her out to the town. That's why she would leave the palace to begin with. But it seems like, again, that Lee Haku was doing it as a way of, like, a consolation, which doesn't really make any sense. I'm not really sure exactly what that whole thing is. Yeah, I know initially he probably seen Mao Mao and said, okay, she's gorgeous. Yeah, sure, I'll give her one of the hairpins. But it seemed like he was giving out to a whole bunch of people. Almost like he was just trying to seek somebody. But he says specifically before he even goes to see her, did she take that consolation hairpin seriously? Again, I don't really know what the point of what he was doing. That comment just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what was he doing with those hairpins? But yeah, when he realizes that it's one of the girls from Gyokyo's place, it had to be Mao Mao. At which point it seems like he no longer is interested in her because of how happy she looked when she got poisoned, I guess. Like, he goes, that would be only that one girl. And then he, like, has these little visions above his head about, you know, Mao Mao looking all happy, but at the same time, extremely gorgeous. And I'm like, so is that a good thing or a bad thing? But yeah, he thinks that she's a weirdo. After we have the obvious moment where he goes, who are you? Oh, you're that girl? You look quite different without your makeup. Mao Mao requests that, yes, he take her out. I want to go see my family. Can you take me home? Can you let me out of the palace? In which point he's like, wow, you must be full of yourself. You must be bold that you're going to ask a military officer to vouch for you. But Mao Mao didn't come without a secret weapon. lays him out on the table. What would you like to have an introductory to one of the three princesses? That was great. I was kind of curious what she would end up using in order to bait him into the situation, but yeah, it seems like some very fancy courtesans is the easiest way to kind of pull him into it. Which is funny because I didn't really note the idea that they specifically say introduction. Simply introduction. There's nothing happening here, but you're going to sit down and have tea with them. Strictly introduction. But that's enough for this guy because it's apparently like his year's salary right there. It makes you kind of wonder who the hell is able to afford these things. He said that like even high-ranking officials can't afford these girls. So I'm like, so the only customers they have is literally the emperor? Like, who else is going to be able to afford? I mean, I don't know, maybe some crazy noble family that has billions of dollars over here. I don't know. It was kind of an odd case there. But I like the fact that to even sweeten the deal, she's like, oh, well, I guess if you're not interested, I have two other people that could go. And yes, technically, both of those are seemingly a certain color. So it seems like the hairpins themselves are also color-coded. Or at least maybe just the type of material that it's using is a lot more rare than others. But that would be specifically Jinshi and Lihua's. I like the fact that they kind of point that out. She didn't take out Gyokyo's. Gyokyo's is specifically like a tiara. She took out Lihua's and Jinshi's. And yes, those two being very high quality showed him that these are people that are even higher than you. So if you ain't gonna help me out, I'll go see them. Which is funny because technically one of those is a massive bluff. Yes, technically Jinshi's is a bluff, but she could have gone to Jinshi. But yeah, technically her going to Lihua to say, hey, can you help me out here? I'll give you some introductories to the three princesses out here. We'll get a whole new side of Lihua. But yeah, that's when we get the other lady in waiting's all freaking out that she's going out on a date. Again, not getting a clarification on what they're talking about. Gyoko's over here like, man, I cannot wait to see Jinshi's face. But at the same time, yes, Gyoko knows that Mao doesn't even know what she's doing. Like, Mao leaving the rear palace with a guy, she doesn't even know what that means. All the lady in waiting, they think something, but she knows that Mao is not doing that for the reasons that they think that she's doing that. But she don't care, though, because all she cares about is seeing what Jinshi's face looks like when he finds out. Again, kind of playing in the idea of that familiarity that Gyokyo has with Jinshi, again, kind of playing the idea of who Jinshi is. And again, my theories on who Jinshi is technically plays into, I think, how much Gyokyo likes the idea that Jinshi has an interest in Mao. She loves Mao. And even the thought of the idea of Mao getting with Jinshi, who, again, is possibly part of this empire, the royal family, is pretty significant for her future, depending on who you ask. But yeah, Mao leaves the palace with Lihaku. They go out to the pleasure district, which is like right there. Immediately gets punched in the stomach by the lady that runs the place. I got a kick out of that. It's like, yep, it's the old lady, that big, massive teddy bear old lady, the one that just has that roughness to her, but you know she has a heart of gold. She's mad that Mao is doing this whole thing, wants to know what the hell happened with her, and additionally wants a little bit of extra pay because she knows that it's just an introductory and that her pay, apparently, that she got in advance to be able to pay for it is not even going to be enough. She doesn't think it's going to be enough, specifically because Lihaku has some massive muscles, and so they apparently think that this Python is not going to be able to help herself because apparently she really likes muscles. I like how Mama's like, how's your muscles doing? He's like, I got this. And she's like, yeah, I think that'll work. Like, she's almost trying to help out Lihaku because the old lady, she doesn't want her to do anything besides an introductory, but I think Mama wants him to get something more out of this whole situation. It was super good. I see them coming back together and seeing each other again after what apparently is, at this point, 10 months. But yeah, Mao goes home, nothing's changed, walks in the door, sees her father. And this was super heartbreaking because obviously it seems like Mao has had in contact with them, but it does seem like the father was, just not really asking any questions. Just welcome home. Just a very inviting persona about him. It does seem like her father is quite mellow. I don't know if that's because he's inflicted with something or something, or it's just a simple case that he's like, that happened. There's nothing I can do about it. Just welcome her home. Don't ask questions. Just bring her in. Show her that warmth. She gets to kind of sit there and tell him all the stories. Knows the fact that she has to go back because her time, her term is not over yet. So she has to go back there. And that all kind of wraps up with the father saying, Rare Palace? What a twist of fate. Which again, I think is implying that Mao is somehow tied in with the royal family in some way. But we'll see. But yeah, fantastic episode. Really did feel like a nice breather after all the crazy stuff from the last episode. The preview for the next episode looks like things are going to get super crazy. I didn't think we were going to go right back to that so quickly, but it does look like things are going to get pretty spicy in the next episode, so I'm super hyped for it. But that's my thoughts on episode 7 of Apothecary Diaries. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. By the way, all of my speculations at the beginning is purely speculation. I don't need answers in the comments. I don't think I mentioned that enough, but I'm just speculating. I'm having fun. I don't need the answers, but yeah. If you do the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Just if you like this content, you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips, links, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody does, and y'all take care.